Hey YouTube, how you doing? Biggie here. How's everything? Welcome to my first vlog of 2023, and today I'm doing another movie review. My first movie review since I did the Selena movie with Jennifer Lopez back in September for Hispanic Heritage Month, and I've been really busy lately with a lot of things, and it's been really crazy. So today, if you remember, at least 1 year ago, I reviewed the animated 1992 Disney film Aladdin with Scott Weinger, Robin Williams, Jonathan Freeman, and Gilbert, Gottfried, Linda Larkin, and however, like I said, there were two sequels released to home video. So that's what I'm going to be reviewing today. There was Aladdin, The Return of Jafar, which was released in 1994, and Aladdin 3, Aladdin and the King of Thieves, released 1996. So today I'm doing the second Aladdin movie, and that is The Return of Jafar. Like I said, it was released in the year of 1994. It was released in the spring of 1994. It's a sequel to the 1992 animated Disney film Aladdin. And it was directed by Toby Shelton, Tad Stones, and Alan Zaslove, I believe his name was. And Tad Stones also directed Aladdin and the King of Thieves. If you remember, the first one, John Musker and Ron Clements directed this, and Aladdin, The Return of Jafar was directed by Tad Stones, Toby Shelton, and Alan Zaslove, and Aladdin and the King of Thieves was, I think, directed by them again too. They did pretty good with this, Tad Stones and the others, but this is not a bad sequel, but it's not a bad movie at all. But I like the first one, Aladdin, better, and I hate to say it, but Tad Stones and they did a pretty good job with this. But John Musker and Ron Clements is Aladdin I kind of like better, but I do like the whole three Aladdin trilogy, but I have no use for the 2019 live action one with Will Smith playing the Genie. And speaking of voices, the majority of original voice cast comes back. Like this star, we know Jonathan Freeman, he comes back as Jafar. Gilbert Gottfried comes back as Iago. Scott Weinger, right there, he voices Aladdin. You may know Scott Weinger, as I said, Steve on Full House, DJ, played by Candace Cameron Bure's boyfriend. And there's Aladdin's girlfriend, Jasmine, Linda Larkin. She comes back. She did good as she did in the first movie. There's Abu right there. Abu, that's Aladdin's pet monkey. And there's the Genie right there. He is back in this, and if you recall, Robin Williams voiced him in the first Aladdin. But in this movie, he is not voiced by Robin Williams, because I've been hearing stories that Robin Williams was underpaid for the first one, and I'm not really off base with it, but in this one, the Genie, Return of Jafar, the Genie is voiced by actor Dan Castellaneta, who we all know he is best known for voicing Homer Simpson. Don't! Why are you little? Yeah. But Robin Williams did return in Aladdin and the King of Thieves as the Genie. And this is the only Aladdin movie without Jafar. Yes. But a lot of things in this movie have changed in this movie have changed, like I've noticed since. But I'm going to talk about that in a minute. All I know is the film, it received mixed to negative reviews. It sold over 50 million VHS tapes when it was first released. Excuse me, in the spring of 1994, and the movie's only 69 minutes long, and it had a budget of $5 million. Yep. Yep, so it was not a bad movie. It grossed over $300 million on a budget. It was one of the best-selling films on home video. Yep. And it was the second animated Disney sequel after The Rescuers Down Under was released in 1990, and that The Rescuers Down Under was a sequel to the 1977 animated Disney feature The Rescuers. Sequels, majority of the time, don't do as good as the original. But I give these two movies credit. Return of Jafar and The King of Thieves, they're not bad at all, but they could be better. But yeah, and they said, like I said, Robin, he refused to reprise the role as a genie, so that's why Dan Castellaneta took over. And Douglas Seal, you remember, he voiced the Sultan in the original Aladdin movie, but in this one, as well as the King of Thieves, he's voiced by actor Val Bettin, who previously worked in another Disney movie called The Great Mouse Detective, which was also directed by John Musker and Ron Clements, just like Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, and Hercules. And I love Hercules. Yep. And Tad Stones did it pretty good with this, but he did pretty good with the sequels, but not really as good as John Musker and Ron Clements. I'll admit that. But it's not a bad movie at all. And Aladdin, the movie, I mean not the movie, the TV series also debuted in the same year as The Return of Jafar, 1994. Yep, The Return of Jafar was released in May of 1994. And let's see, when did the Aladdin TV series I think it was released a few months before it was released. The Return of Jafar was released, yeah. But the music in it was pretty good, I'd say, but it's not as good as the original. Yep. The beginning of the movie, like if you remember in the first Aladdin movie, it said Walt Disney Pictures presents Aladdin. However, in this movie, in the just like the Aladdin and the King of Thieves, it says it doesn't say Walt Disney Pictures presents, because probably in my opinion, due to the fact it was released to VHS, it said Walt Disney Home Video presents, and then it shows the title of the movie. It says Aladdin. No, it doesn't say. It just says Aladdin. It just says The Return of Jafar, which is also best known as Aladdin 2, and it shows the beginning of people riding their horses, and it plays the same song as it did in the beginning of the first part of the first movie, Arabian Nights, but however, it's a little more extended, it sounded like, and and it shows this movie has not just Jafar back in it, but a new villain. his name is Abis, short like little guy, fat chubby guy, and he's voiced by actor. And this is what he looks like right here. If you can get a nice shoot where my finger's right at, that's Abis, and he's voiced by veteran actor, Seinfeld actor who played George Costanza on Seinfeld, Jason Alexander. And Jason Alexander, he did pretty good in this. Yeah, he did pretty good as he did on Seinfeld. But anyway, after, yeah. Yep, 1 year after a year and a few months after the first film was released, Abu and Aladdin, we know, settled in the palace of Agrabah with Princess Jasmine, which became his girlfriend, and the Sultan. And this movie started where it shows a bunch of people, thieves, stealing stuff and everything, and a criminal group. It was led by their dim-witted leader Abis, and Aladdin comes in and he stops it. He comes in and steals back what they've stolen and returns it to the people of Agrabah. Yeah, and when they stop Abis and then the whole chandelier thing, and they're flying on the magic carpet, and Abu's like, and then Abis had that flower, jeweled flower in it, and Abu took it while Abis holding on to the magic carpet while they're flying, and then Abu takes the flower, and Abis like, "Hey, that's mine!" Woo! Falls off, and then he falls like on a hand, like a statue, and then the hand falls, and then the hand's nail falls on Abis head, and then Aladdin's back and Abu are flying back to Agrabah, and then and it shows Aladdin. I love that smile of his. He's like flying on the carpet. He's like. And meanwhile, in the desert, something was in the sand. It was Iago. He escapes from Jafar's lamp. He was tired of being taken for granted, and he refuses Jafar's demands to spread him free. And Iago's trying to get himself out of the lamp, and he's like, "I had sand and and Jafar's like, "Spare me your perfect, Iago. Are we out yet?" He's like. Iago's like, "Are we out yet? Are we out yet? Yes, we're out. No thanks to you." And he's like, "If it weren't for me, you'd be stuck down there forever." But then the lamp, Jafar's lamp was black. And Jafar releases him. He's like, "You!" And he's like, "You will now release me, though I may have my revenge." And then he refused it, and he's like, "You know something? You're nothing without me." "What? Who comes up with all the good ideas?" "Me! Who does all the work?" "Me!" Gilbert Gottfried did a good job as him. May he rest in peace. And then Iago takes Jafar's lamp, and then he throws it down like a well, like a sewer, and he's like, "All goes well. I'm looking out for me." That song. And then he's flying to Agrabah and everything, and then he runs in like people and everything, and he's like starting to show, and he's wearing jewelry and everything, and he's like showing off, and he's dancing with animals. He's like, "It doesn't pay to give a hoot." And he's like, "I'm flapping," and he was like biting food and everything, and they like trying to stop him, and he's like, and then he's like, "I'm looking out for me." And then the villagers throws a watermelon at him, and then three other guys who he tried to steal like his jewel, they're like this, and the guy's like, "Steal from us again, and your scrawny body will be dinner for the jackals." And Iago's like, no problem. And then it's so funny. And he was hoping to befriend Aladdin and return to the palace. And yeah, and Aladdin, after he's recovered the loot that Abis stole and everything, and he was throwing it to people, giving it to off the flying carpet, and people were happy. And Abu didn't want anything to happen to it. And Aladdin, he's like, and Abu, he's like, don't worry, Abu, I'm not throwing everything. And he said the glass rose that Abu took from Abis. Aladdin's like, this is for Jasmine. Aladdin's like, and then he gave Jasmine the rose, and they kissed, and of course, and then they were getting ready for dinner with the Sultan that night, and then Iago meets Aladdin and Abu, hoping to befriend him and start a whole brand new life. And during a confrontation with them, and then they bump into Abis and his henchmen, and then Iago saves him. He throws and then they start stop, and then Abis on some with a thing right here, kind of looked like a seesaw, and Iago dropped a thing on like a plant on the thing, and then Abis went him and his henchmen went flying into a thing, and the guy's the guards. Yeah, now I remember. I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but the guards tried to chase Abis, but they got away, and Iago, and then Aladdin thanks Iago for saving his life and everything and protecting him, and then Aladdin keeps Iago on palace grounds to speak with the Sultan on his behalf, and Iago was not comfortable with it. He's like, "Are you kidding? Who hates me? And what about the princess?" And then Genie, but then it shows Genie returns to the palace and everything, and he shows he was exploring the world and everything, and how happy he was to be back in that song. There is nothing in the world quite like a friend. And that was the first scene of Genie in that movie. And when I saw that, when I first saw it, I'll admit it, when I first saw it, because as I said, Genie is voiced by Dan Castellaneta from The Simpsons. And Dan Castellaneta did very good. He was not a bad Genie, but I'll admit it. He wasn't as good as Robin Williams. And may Robin Williams rest in peace. It's just sad what happened to him. But then after that, Genie, Jasmine, and Aladdin, and Rajah, Jasmine's pet tiger, join the Sultan for dinner, and he said Abu had to stay and guard Iago. Yep, and then meanwhile, Abis and his henchmen were at a well to wash up and everything, and Abis picked up the bucket with water, and then then Jafar's lamp falls on him, and he's like, and then he finds the lamp, and then he rubs the lamp, and which he did. He thought he was like, it might be worth a few shekels once it's cleaned up, and he didn't know when you rub the lamp, the genie comes to life, and then the henchman was threatening to kill Abis, and they're like, and then as soon as their first attempted move, they just as soon as Jafar awakens from the lamp, and he's like, I am free to seek revenge on the ones who imprisoned me. And then he tries to fly away, and then the things on his elbow, on his hand, light up, and he's like, it is the curse and all the rules, and I rules by the power of the genie. And he's like, I can't kill that upstart Aladdin unless I have someone to take me back to Agrabah at once. And I love the way Abis, he was gibbering. He's like, and Jafar just turns back from a genie to a human, and however, I noticed there was a difference between Jafar's turban in the first one and in this one. Like in the first one, right there is his turban, but in the second one, but when he made his second wish in the first one, which was to be the most powerful sorcerer in the world, his turban was modified. It kind of looked like a U-shaped, which is also how it was shaped in this movie when he turned into human form. And Abis, he made Abis clear that you get 3 wishes, but here's the formality. To help promise him he'll take him to Agrabah. He manipulates Abis became Jafar's new master, and he manipulates him into wasting his first 2 wishes. Yeah, and when Abis wished for the sunken treasure of Col de Mer, and then they land into a sea, and he almost got attacked by a squid, poor Abis, and he's like, oh, sweet baby, are we enjoying the wish? He's like, perhaps you wish me to return you to the desert. And he's like, and then, yep, and he's like, that was 2 wishes. Take your time with the third, or you wish you had never born. And then they go back to. Abis agrees also to do revenge on Aladdin. That's what Jafar wanted. He enlists Abis help take revenge on Aladdin because in exchange he will grant him a special 3rd wish. And then, yeah. Meanwhile, then the genie returned. Yep. After, as I said, he returned to the palace after traveling for the world for a year. He was cooking the dinner at the banquet and everything, and Jafar was free. I mean, Genie was freed in the first movie, but he still had some magic in him. Yep, and Sultan also announced Aladdin as the new royal vizier, and I liked it when Jafar, when he transformed his face, he's like, Genie transformed his face, and he's like, Aladdin is bound to be better than that Jafar character. And Iago, and that bird was mean. He's like, so want a cracker, so want a cracker, so want a cracker. But Iago was changed. Like I mentioned when I reviewed the first movie, Iago was a villain, we know, in the first one. But in the second and third one, he was a good guy. Yeah. And then Well, Abu was guarding Iago. Rajah discovered him in the garden in the cage, and um, then Iago gets out of the cage, and Rajah chases him and everything into the banquet, um, Iago was there, and Aladdin was trying his best not to tell the secret, but as soon as Iago showed up, Sultan called the guards to stop him, he was trying to kill, and then Aladdin stopped him, and then Aladdin got in trouble. Jasmine and Sultan were upset at him, and yeah, and Aladdin asked to pardon Iago though, and because he said Iago was not all bad and everything, he was changed, and Sultan told him that he will watch Iago every moment, and Razoul, the guard, warned him if the bird makes one wrong move, he's in trouble. And Jasmine was upset at him because he lied to her and everything. She goes into her room and upset, he remains, but even the Sultan remains suspicious of Iago. But issues Iago a temporary pardon with the stipulation of watching over him. That's what I mentioned. And Aladdin was sad that Jasmine was upset at him and everything. And Genie asks Iago for his help to get Aladdin and the princess together, forgive him. So they persuade Jasmine to forgive him for keeping Iago's secret, and agrees to give Iago a chance and everything. And then sang that song, "We Can't Forget About Love," and Aladdin starts apologizing and everything, and Iago is watching, and "Oh, please, enough is enough," and everything. And Jafar and Abis sneak into the palace and everything, and he sneaks while Iago's having in the lap of luxury. He's having a privacy, and he's like, "When Aladdin becomes Sultan, that will make me the new Grand Vizier. I'm not going to blow it like that idiot Jafar. I am never going to step in his shadow ever again." Then all of a sudden Jafar appears and spooks him, and he's like, "Calm yourself, Iago." And he tells Iago, he introduces him to Abis, and saying that's his new master / new friend, and he sees that he made friends with Aladdin, and tells him he was arranging a little surprise for Aladdin he forces Iago to trick him and the Sultan to travel to the waterfall, and which they did and everything, and that eventually happened, and they take carpet and everything, but they left without Abu and Genie, and Genie and Abu were dressed up like picnic boys, and and Jasmine was like, "They already left, Genie, and without us," and they were gonna go catch up to him, and Jasmine's like, "Without me too." Aladdin needs some time. Said Aladdin needs some alone time with Father to patch things up, and then the Genie and Abu just take the picnic baskets, stuff their faces and stuff and everything, and meanwhile, while they're picnicking, Jafar spooks comes in, and then he stops them, and Jafar they tried stopping Jafar and everything, even with this tried zapping Jafar, and when he's like, "You always were good for a laugh," and then he's like, and then Genie dressed up as a superhero, he's like, "Who's laughing now?" And Jafar's like, "Ha ha ha ha! Why, I believe it's me," and he's singing that song, like confining him and everything. He's like, "You're only second rate." He turns into a genie and to his human self, and he's like, Genie's right here, and he's like, "Men cower at the power in my pinky." His four fingers were human form of Jafar, while his thumb was, he's like number one of that of his Genie. And then he's like, "If you're convinced that I'm invincible, put me to the and then when singing the song, he's like, "You're only second rate." Jafar and Abu run, and he's like, "Gabba gabba dabra," and him in his human form, and then him as a granny in his human form, Genie and Boo right by, and he's like, "Granny's gonna grab you," and then puts him in a shipping crate, and then puts him on a spinning plate, and puts him like in an orb with the spider thing locked in there, and Abu's like, "Hello, hello," and then Jafar just zaps Abu and ties him up and against the wall, and then meanwhile, back on their Sultan's trip, and Aladdin's trip, the Sultan eventually forgave Aladdin and everything, and he said he was sorry for telling Sultan, not telling about Iago, and he's like, "I guess I saw some good in him, just like you saw some good in a street rat," and Sultan was very happy to hear that, and he's like, "Well said, my boy. You will make a fine, fine vizier." And he thanked Iago, but then Jafar transformed into a gang of sorcerer horsemen riding dragon-winged horses, ambushes them, and then they kidnapped the Sultan and everything, and they sent Aladdin into a waterfall, and before that, Aladdin accused Iago. He's like, "You traitor! Traitor, such a strong word. I'll settle with you later," Aladdin says. And yep, and then Sultan and Carpet, they go and rescue the Sultan, but it didn't last long. The waterfall grabbed the Sultan, bringing him into the dragon winged horses that Jafar transformed into, and then Aladdin went into the waterfall, but into the tornado like waterfall, and then Aladdin landed on a rock, and then Abis just went like kicked him right in the face, and then when Aladdin went down the waterfall, and Jafar, as a sorcerer, used his power, then Aladdin just went to the safer water, and then eventually landed on land and everything, and Abis was not happy about that, and he's like, "It's not yet time for the boy to meet his end," and then back at the palace, while Aladdin's trying to get back to the palace, Jafar's captured Sultan, Genie, and Abu, and Carpet too, and he said he couldn't done it without Iago, and Iago was kind of disagreeing with him. He said, "I played him," and Carpet trying to get away, Magic Carpet, and Abis holding him. He's like, "Jafar, this rug won't cooperate," and then Carpet just ran, but then Jafar chained him, and then just put him in, and Jafar just took the Sultan's turban, took a dagger, went, and Abis, "That was a nice hat. I could have used that hat," and then they put it in Aladdin's room and everything, and Yeah, and then Aladdin makes it back to Agrabah to warn Razoul Jafar was back, and that the Sultan is, and then Razoul told his guards, are like, seize him! You are under arrest for the murder of the Sultan. Then Aladdin told in the dungeon how all happened. How did, and he said it was the truth and everything, and and he's like, and then Jafar was posing as Jasmine, framing Aladdin for the Sultan's murder and everything. When she said, Jafar's Jasmine going, I found this in your room, my father's turban slashed, and then sentenced him to an execution. Said he shall die at dawn, and for the murder of my father, and but then it shows Jafar disguised as Jasmine going into the room where her father Jasmine where Jasmine, Genie, and Abu was, and Carpet, and Sultan. Then Jasmine was captured too, and Sultan was captured. They're all captured until Jasmine. Jafar's Jasmine turns back into his normal self, and he's like, "Oh, you should have seen the look on Aladdin's face when Princess Jasmine sentenced him to death." And she's like, "No," and he's like, "Yes." And don't I get my wish? And he's like, "You get your wish." And then, and then as soon as Jafar leaves, Aladdin. Because we know Iago was just feeling guilty for his betrayal. He frees the genie. He tries a bat and everything. That didn't work. He tried throwing it, but he had to lift it higher. And he's like, I'm trying to free the genie so he can save Aladdin. And it showed Jafar as Jasmine saying goodbye to Aladdin before his execution. They were going to behead him, and Jasmine was wearing the same hoodie that the Jafar Jasmine was wearing. The real Jasmine was wearing in the first Aladdin movie when she met Aladdin. And she's like, I just want to say goodbye, and turns into Jafar going, street rat, and turns back into Jasmine, and then he's like, it's Jafar, and then they put a bag over, and then get this, while Iago's lifting the crystal ball with the genie in it, he lifts it very high, and then the crystal lets go of it with his feet, talons, and then Genie's freed, and then he comes doing Mach 9, saving Aladdin. They almost got him. They almost just went, but then Aladdin escaped, and then Genie freed everybody else and everything, and Jasmine was very happy to see him, and her and Abu, and she told him that Iago saved everybody before Aladdin tried to confront him, when he's like, hello, and he's like, you set me up, how could you show, and then Aladdin was like, we have to stop Jafar, and they were worried how they were going to do, and Genie came up with this solution to stop him. You destroy Jafar's lamp, you destroy Jafar, and that's what they were going to do. And Aladdin was like, Iago was like, reality check, Jafar is large and in charge, and they go back as he was controlling. He controls Agrabah, and Iago kind of leaves for a while after Aladdin thanked him, but then they go to confront Jafar in the treasure room just before Abis can wish him free, and Jafar gives Abis the sunken treasure of Col de Mer, and it's all over the palace and everything, and he's happy about it. He's like, and then he almost wished Jafar to be free, but he didn't. And how will I know these things won't disappear once I set you free? He's like, how will you stay alive if you don't? And then, but it turns out, Jafar, Abu was trying to get the lamp, but then Aladdin comes in and Jafar was not mad. He's like, Street Rat's still alive? No! And then he knocked both Aladdin and Abis out of the tower, sending them hurtling through the palace trees. And but Genie turns into a sofa, and Abu and Aladdin land on him, and then they're like, "Where's the lamp?" And they try to. Abis hanging from his shirt on a tree, dangling from the tree, and the lamp falls, and Aladdin. They try getting the lamp, but then Jafar. They attempt to get the lamp, but then Jafar transforms into his genie form, scaring the group. He not and everything, and and the genie transformed into Aladdin, so the real Aladdin could go get the lamp and stop Jafar, and could go get but then he just transformed Jafar. He just turned back into his genie form and Jafar saw the real, and then he just threw a genie and knocked him out, and then Jafar just used his powers while Aladdin was flying carpet, and flying carpet to go get the lamp, and then carpet just turned into glass, and he's like, "Carpet, no!" And then Aladdin tried getting the lamp, but then he splits open the palace gardens, like I said, creating a pool of lava, and traps Aladdin into a sinking rock. And Aladdin's trying to grab Jafar's lamp. Sorry about that. Aladdin is trying to grab Jafar's lamp, but Jafar wouldn't let him have his lamp. But then Iago comes rushing, and he's like, "Hey, Jafar, shut up!" And then Iago grabbed the lamp with his talons, and then he tried to give Aladdin the lamp, but then Aladdin was very close to grab, but then he zapped Iago for betraying him, and then Iago just hit it, and then Iago had the lamp by him, though, trying to kick it with his feet, and Jafar's like, "Ha ha ha ha, good help is so hard to find these days, isn't it, Aladdin?" But then it wasn't over. Iago threw Jafar's lamp into the pool of lava, and he starts disintegrating. He's like, "No!" And then he explodes, and then Jafar's magic is undone, and after he making Jafar self-destruct, and all the palace gardens and everything were restored back to normal, and carpet was back to normal and everything, and everybody forgave Iago, and after he saved Iago and got him out of there, whenever Aladdin was like, "I thought a genie couldn't kill anybody." Iago was like, "You'll be surprised what you can live through." And they were like, he was alive, and everybody was happy and everything, and everybody, and Iago was accepted into the palace, and Aladdin did not accept the Sultan's offer to become the royal vizier. He would have made a good one, though. He wanted to see the world with Jasmine and everything, much to Iago's chagrin, and he's like, "Shouldn't," and Iago was driving them nuts, and he's like, "What more do you want?" And he's like, because he wanted to see the world with Jasmine and everything. And Iago, when the credits came, he's like, shouldn't anybody ask what the brave parrot wants to do? And then starts the end credits and everything. And in the post end credits, Abis Small it showed dangling from a tree, and he's like, does this mean I don't get my third wish? And then comes the Walt Disney Television logo. Yep. But other than that, I give this movie a lot of... I don't give it much praise, but Siskel and Ebert, I know, they gave it 2 thumbs up. But, yeah. Instead of the film being released theatrically, the decision to release somebody said to release this on home video was due to time constraints, claiming that to put the film in theatrical pipeline would have taken up to 5 years, but they said releasing it on home video would take less than 2 years. And plus, I think it's because, like I said, this was released on home video in May of 1994, and they also had The Lion King, which came out a month or 2 later. And I really like, because the first Lion King was released in theaters, and that was not a bad. I really loved The Lion King. Yes, and I loved the sequels to The Lion King as well, but not as good as the first one, that's for sure. But like I said, Siskel and Ebert, they gave this 2 thumbs up, just like they did with Aladdin and the King of Thieves and the first one. We definitely know the first one. The first one's an ultimate classic. But yeah, the music in this was not bad, but in the first 2 days, it sold more than 1.5 million VHS copies. More than 4.6 million VHS copies were sold in less than a week. Yeah, and they earned over millions of $150 million in profits. Yep. It made over $300 million worldwide. Yep. But this is the 2005 special edition DVD. And this is the 2005 Aladdin and the King of Thieves DVD, special edition DVD. Yeah. However, on this is the second Aladdin movie. The King of Thieves is the third movie. That was released in 1996. But this is not a bad movie, though. But, yeah, so however, on the DVD as well as the old 2005 VHS I used to have, it said Aladdin. It says Aladdin right here, The Return of Jafar. In the original 1994 VHS, it doesn't say Aladdin. It just says The Return of Jafar. But this is Aladdin 2, though. Aladdin number 2. So, but yeah. The music in it was good, but it wasn't as good as like the first movie. But I liked didn't have as many songs as the first movie. And even based it's got a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 12 reviews collected. And yeah, but I give this movie like 3 out of 4 stars, like 2.5 to 3 out of 4 stars, but it's still not bad. But this also has a 5.8 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's not as good as the first one, like I keep saying over and over, but it's my opinion. But yeah, but I still like the movie. It's a pretty decent movie. Yeah, but But I still think the voice cast did a pretty good job. But like I said, Dan Castellaneta's Genie voice is not as good as Robin Williams. But yep, because of like the stories I've heard about this, like Robin Williams was underpaid for the first one, but yet Robin Williams returned for the third one. Yep, and I plan on reviewing the third one in the near future, so be on the lookout for that. Yep. So, I have nothing else to say except that. Alright, YouTube. Nice seeing you. Take it easy. Be safe. Stay out of trouble. Peace.